Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter. Hi there guys, it's Adam Martyn here, and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about the BBC licence fee. Now I know the licence fee is very much a hot topic amongst many people who consume TV in the UK. We are one of few nations in the world who impose a licence fee for our television. Specifically, this is to fund the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. This has been the model they have used pretty much since their inception, so this has been a long-standing thing. Many people view it as archaic, many people think it needs to go, and we're going to discuss that a little bit today. So I found this article from RXTV, found a lot from them recently, so you should go and check them out. And it says, licence fee, hybrid BBC funding model is a likely approach. The most likely approach could include lower licence fee from 2028, with remaining BBC funding coming from other means. Now, we knew this has sort of been coming in a way, you know, with the licence fee freeze over the last few years, and there's been a lot of questions in government about the BBC licence fee being changed or being abolished, etc, etc. So articles like this aren't necessarily surprising because this is a topic that is going to come up in the near future. But let's have a little read first. It says, the government is launching a review into how the BBC is funded after its current royal charter expires. Ministers are expected to sign off a review in the coming weeks, which will report back by autumn of 2024, so in just over a year's time. This would coincide with a pre-election period, as the next general election must be held by early 2025, meaning the report's outcome could become heavily politicised. Yeah, that is true. I'm not going to delve too much into the political side of it, because it seems a lot of you aren't necessarily fans when I do that, and to be honest, I don't want to talk politics much on this channel either, but I think that is an important talking point, and we've known that the government is going to be looking into how the BBC will be funded going forward. I don't think that's necessarily like brand new information. Various options are under consideration, including a household levy, a tax on broadband internet connections, introducing a subscription, or allowing the BBC to show adverts. That would be weird. But according to The Times, who are quoting government sources, a hybrid solution with the licence fee retained to part fund the BBC is the likely approach. For example, a hybrid subscription licence fee model would mean certain BBC services would require additional payment to access, whilst the licence fee funded part would continue to be available to all. I just want to touch on that a little bit. So looking at all those, you know, household levy, tax on broadband internet connections, I think introducing any sort of tax is just going to increase the ire of people. People do not like paying taxes. I think that's a universal given most of us can get behind, so I don't think they'll go down that route. The whole subscription or showing adverts, the concept of showing adverts on the BBC is very, very strange. Not saying it's impossible, but I don't necessarily think that's the way to go either. The subscription model is likely, but I mean, I think what we've seen recently with the streamers, so I'm talking like, you know, Netflix, I'm talking Disney Plus, whilst they had those initial boost of numbers, I don't want to say they've not been doing well, but their reports are a bit interesting, like they're cutting content left, right and centre. Disney Plus is outright just removing content from its service, including stuff that is insanely recent. So I think that whole subscription model, well, some might say it not last, but then this is the BBC. This isn't just a content house that is just putting out programmes. You know, it also dabbles in news, current affairs, etc. So maybe that'll give it the edge above the others. I'm not too sure on that one. And then this likely approach, this hybrid subscription model. So they're saying, you know, keep part of the licence fee so that can fund certain things. Maybe, for example, right, let's say that's BBC One, BBC Two, your basic 4 radio stations, BBC Radios 1 to 4, and some other dribs and drabs as well. But if you want BBC 3, you want BBC 4, you want other radio features, etc., then maybe you pay for that. So I can understand why they're considering that. I'm not sure how likely it is, though. At a House of Lords Communications Committee hearing on Tuesday afternoon, BBC Director General Tim Davie highlighted the difficult choices the BBC had to make due to cuts, but remained open-minded at the different options for funding available, providing whichever option chosen enabled the BBC to continue to achieve its purposes. So, you know, that's trying to broadcast for everybody, cater to everybody, I suppose. And Tim Davie, he's had a busy few weeks, hasn't he? And last week, former BBC chairman Richard Sharp, who of course is now gone, suggested changes that would lead to wealthier households paying more. It's unlikely the current government would consider this for ideological reasons. Again, not to dive too much into the politics of it, but I've seen this with a lot of just things in general. You know, why don't the rich pay more? And I guess that's a tangible option. But again, as it says, all I'll say is it says the current government won't do it for ideological reasons, and I think the writer of this article is very much correct. And then the increase in license fee. Meanwhile, the license fee is due to increase once again from April 2024, after being frozen by former Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries for 2 years. The rate of increase is currently linked to an annualised inflation figure. However, this is expected to be changed to be linked to a particular monthly figure instead. This would be similar to how most broadband providers link their price rise to the inflation figure published in January. As inflation is expected to fall later this year, this switch would result in a lower increase in the license fee, which I guess, that's good on one hand, but, no one likes a price increase, especially with something as contentious as the license fee. I mean, let's have a look and see how much it is. So a standard colour TV license, yes, they're still saying colour, costs £159. A black and white license, yes, you read that right, a black and white license costs £53.50. If you are blind or severely sight impaired, you can apply for a 50% concession, so your license fee will cost £79.50. Yeah, also a black and white license costs £53.50, so roughly a third. I've looked into this, not for myself, but out of curiosity, but you cannot simply, get a black and white license and then watch colour, and then if the TV license people come around, just turn the black and white filter or turn the colour off your TV. Doesn't work like that. As far as I understand, with that one, you actually have to have it registered for a black and white TV set, and the only black and white TV sets that I can imagine are still in operation are those that have now been modded to accept digital signals, or that connect to a Freeview box or something like that, because any black and white TV is surely all analog based. I severely doubt in the digital age there were TVs being made solely in black and white. If there were, then that's news to me. But yes, so it's a third of the price, but not many people are actually picking that up. So £159 over 12 months for a year. Let's just do a bit of quick math, shall we? Let's see what that comes out to. So that comes out to £13.25 a month. So yes, okay, you could argue that is more than, say, a base subscription to Disney Plus, or a subscription to Netflix, or many of the streamers, for example. But just think about what you're getting. With the streamers, obviously, yes, you're getting a boatload of content to tuck into. But with the BBC, you're not only getting the content channels, so like BBC 1 to 4 on the telly, that's also providing you the license for, say, the radio, the iPlayer to catch up on stuff, BBC Sounds, not to mention all of the BBC offshoots that provide opportunities for younger people to get into this industry. So yeah, for £13.25 a month, the BBC offers you a wealth of things. And yes, I'm not saying everyone needs to or indeed does use the BBC. I know for a fact that's not true, because that's what many people say, I don't use the BBC, blah, blah, blah. But I still maintain my view that if the BBC was to vanish completely, that the people, even those people who deny it, I think they'd notice the difference, even just a tiny bit. So £13.25 a month. So if it's going to go up, yes, that might irk some people. But say if you were to do this hybrid model, how would you break it down? Say to round it up so it's an even number, say you bump it to 160, right? Let's say £80, half is, your base stuff, and then you pay another 80 for the other stuff. Is that too much? Would you differentiate those percentages a little more? Who's to say? So one big thing also people say is, well, Adam, some people comment, I've never paid a TV license and I've never been caught. What are the chances? Well, I mean, that's a risky game to take. I mean, I remember when I was at university, there were other students that I knew who actively were saying, I watch the iPlayer, for example. I don't pay a TV license. Now, we did in the 3 years I was there, whether that was the landlord covered it or we had to cover it ourselves, but obviously you split the cost. But I know some people who flagrantly didn't. So this is from the TV licensing website. It says detection and penalties. So it says you're breaking the law if you watch or record TV on any channel via any TV service, including Sky, Virgin, Freeview, or Freesat, so it's not just the BBC. It says you're breaking the law if you watch live on streaming services without a license, such as ITVX, Channel 4. YouTube is included in that, by the way. Amazon Prime, Now, Sky Go. So it's not just the TV companies. If you're streaming TV on YouTube without a license, that's illegal as well. Use BBC iPlayer, although there's a big fat asterisk there. What is that then? It says a license fee is not needed to watch S4C programs on demand. Okay, good for S4C users. It says all these apply to any device, including a TV, computer, laptop, phone, tablet, games console, or digital box. So they're covering most of their bases there. It says you could be prosecuted if we find that you have been watching, recording, or downloading programs illegally. The maximum penalty is £1,000 fine, plus any legal costs and or compensation you may be ordered to pay. Although for some reason it says the maximum fee is £2,000 in Guernsey. So if you're in Guernsey and you're not paying a TV license, well, you've got double the fee apparently. And then people say, well, how the hell can they detect that? Well, it says here, how can we detect if you're covered by a TV license? It says there's a national database. We have a database of approximately 31 million licensed and unlicensed addresses. This tells us if your address has a license. And the visiting officers, it says all of our visiting officers have access to this database. This means they can check if you have a license or not. If you tell us that you do not need a TV license, our officers may still visit you to confirm this. And the detective vans. This is always like what I see in like parodies and cartoons, the detective vans that come and find you. It says we also have a fleet of detective vans that can detect the use of TV receiving equipment at specifically targeted addresses within minutes. God, that makes it sound like an absolute hit piece, doesn't it? So yeah, they've got this database where they can have licensed and unlicensed addresses, and you know, they can come to your house and you say, hey, I don't need a TV license, but then they'll probably ask, okay, well, why do you have a TV in your house, etc. So be prepared for that. I've seen a few videos floating online as well of people recording their visits from TV licensing people. Some of them get a bit ugly, some of them are just a bit weird, but you know, I guess they're saying it's good to know your rights. You know, obviously they're asking to come into your home. I'd review the rights you have there to, you know, make sure about letting someone into your home and all that sort of stuff. So here's a little FAQ thing about the visiting officers who come to properties to check if you've got a TV license, basically. So it says our visiting officers will explain why they're visiting, be polite, courteous and fair, and abide by our rules of conduct. If you allow an officer to enter your home, the visit is normally very quick. The officer simply takes a brief view of the main living areas, to verify whether or not television receiving equipment is installed or in use. When necessary, they'll complete a record of interview and ask for a signature to confirm that notes taken are accurate of the interview. They'll also make sure the person being interviewed knows what the consequences may be of watching or recording live TV programs on any channel or device, or downloading or watching BBC programs on the iPlayer without being covered by a TV license. There's other parts to know about, you know, how to know they're genuinely from TV licensing. And so here's an interesting one. In what circumstances can TV licensing access my property without my permission? They can only enter your home without your permission if authorised to do so under a search warrant granted by a magistrate or sheriff in Scotland, and they will only do this when they have reason to believe an offence is being committed. TV licensing will be accompanied by the police when executing a search warrant. So yeah, in this case, they can actually bring the police, which is pretty terrifying for something as, you know, some people would say small as a TV license, but it seems that's the only case they can do that without your permission. So say if they visit you, right, and you don't want them in your house, you can turn them down, but whether that means they might then go to the police if they're suspicious, you know, that's a gamble. So there's other FAQs again, like what rules govern records of interview made by visiting officers, what are the rules of conduct for these officers, how do I complain about them, and why are some wearing body-worn video equipment? I'm guessing that's just to literally cover their back in case you get aggressive with them, as I imagine some people would. It does say, and again, I won't read it all, you can just read this for yourself on the website, but it says about prosecution, it's literally a last resort. I see some people, you know, jump straight to this, oh, I don't pay my license, I get prosecuted. They're claiming it's a last resort. From what I understand, I don't think it happens all that often if you look at, like, the numbers and stuff. So yeah, pretty interesting how, you know, TV licensing, whilst a lot of people like dog on it, you know, it's a case of if you don't pay it at the minute and you've got this TV receiving equipment, you could be fined, and at worst, as a last resort, you could be prosecuted. Now, I've always, when I've been in a space of like my own that I've been responsible for, I always pay my TV license. That's just something I've done. And should it change? I mean, probably. Some would argue the current method is absolutely archaic. Maybe a hybrid version, such as, you know, part license fee, part subscription, is the way to go forward. People are more used to that now, thanks to the streaming sites and stuff. So maybe that is the future for, like, the BBC's funding and the license fee in general. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because, as I said, the license fee is such a contentious topic when it comes to UK television and amongst viewers as a whole. So I think it's just good to sort of air it out, remind ourselves like what it costs, what the consequences are, etc. like that, and what could potentially be its future down the line. But let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think the license fee should change? Do you think it should stay the way it is? What kind of possible solutions could there be for this in the near future? Let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. It really does help us out. And subscribe to us here at AMTV if you haven't already. We'd love to have you aboard. In the meantime, I've been Adam Martyn from AMTV. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Hux Media, Ben Freeman, Ethan Carberry-Holt, Bruce Danton, Globe of Reviews, Derek Chambers, Shaun Knock, Daud Khan, Traffi, Liam De-Maine, and Keith Myers, our AMTV staff members.